Hi everyone. We are very close to starting to deploy our application, and I want to implement the next idea. Currently, to run our application, we need two processes. One process is the backend itself, the Node.js application. The other process is something that will serve our web application. Yes, in the end, it gets built into HTML files, but something has to serve it. I plan to deploy on Heroku, and things like this will cost you two instances of your applications there. One for the front end, another for the back end. It's not very convenient because it will be twice as expensive, though Heroku is quite cheap in general, but still. It's better if there's one process, so that our backend serves our built front end itself. This is the first idea to reduce deployment cost. Secondly, we will be able to pass variables from the backend to the web app. And this is also important because, in fact, the front end greatly depends on which backend it is connected to, and let this backend serve the front end. Okay, that's the plan. Let's implement it. We need to work with the backend in a way that it starts serving our built front end. Now let's create a file surfwebapp.ts in the lib folder with the following content, and let's review it. All right, let's apply it, and it will become clearer in which context it will exist. I want our front end to launch after TRPC is set up. We pass here ExpressApp and import it. Good, now we can start debugging our code. When we called apply surf app, we need to find the folder with our front-end distribution, this folder /dist. You need to remember that it can be searched, roughly speaking, both during development and when already built here. So once this file runs from here, it will go look for dist, then web app, and so on. Okay, let's do this. How should we find our dist? Let's look at this function. We pass dirname here. Right now, dirname will specifically be this lib folder. All right, the lib folder made it here. We say that it might be the distr. We check in the following way. If there is a web app /dist in this folder. Okay, then, well, we assumed there is such a path. Yes, in the lib /webapp /dist folder. Check file exists. Here's this kind of thing to check file existence using Node.js's native FS. So, well, it looks like this. All right, I'll check if the file exists. If it suddenly exists, then we say that, well, we found it, here it is. It really is. Then, if it's still not the one, we check if we hit the root. If we hit the root, we return null. If we haven't hit the root yet, we return the folder containing this folder. And we start this search again. So we looked in lib, looked in src, looked in backend, went up, and already saw web app dist. And here, it will be the same when it shows up here. That will be good. Next, we found the folder. Here it is. If we still didn't find it and we are in production, then let's trigger a major error and say that everything is wrong. And right when the backend starts, our backend will crash, and that's exactly what we want. We should know that our web app is not being served. So, if it's not production, let's just throw an error in the log saying, we couldn't find this folder. Okay? Well, and we will exit this function. So in any case, if we don't find it, we leave from here. If we find it, we search for our HTML. Yes, let's look at our HTML. It's just an index.html file. Here it is. And it essentially serves all our JS, CSS, and so forth. So when we are accessed by some URL, the main thing is to return index.html. And it doesn't matter on which page we are, whether we're here, ID with ID, or here, or here. The same index.html is always served. So if you look at the page source, you'll just see index.html on any page. Everything else is done by JS. Therefore, for any request, we just need to return the index.html file. All right, we found it in this folder, this index.html, and took its content. So this is literally the content of this file. And then we say that we also want to serve all the static files through Express. What is static? Static, again, is everything that's in the dist folder. Because, as you see, our index.html refers to some /asset/index.js, and this file. So all these files need to be served just like that from the dist folder. All right, and we serve all of these files. The only thing is to specify index false. So if it is requested directly, if by direct path, it won't give us this index.html file, and we will serve it ourselves. Because, as I said, in the future, we will also write into variables. So I want to serve our index.html separately on any URL, except those that are these static files. So we've added this, and now we can try this out. So we have backend.pnpm.pd here. And let's build our front end, pnpm build. So it's building now. Meanwhile, let's restart our backend just in case. All right, and our backend is at address 3000. Okay, let's see what this endpoint returned earlier. That is, right now we won't serve the web app. And let's see what happens if we go to localhost 3000. Okay, localhost 3000. We haven't declared any route on the backend for this path, just slash. So nothing is displayed. Now we will start our server. And again, on the back end, we refresh the page and see our front end. Everything is working now because this JS switches correctly. It's important that when we refresh this page, we still get back our index.html. Great. We are still getting back our index.html. That's what we needed. A logical question arises. Of course, in developer mode, we achieved this. But if we run pnpm vbuild and build our backend, we need to make sure that the web app is also running well from the built backend, because technically this file will run from here. Here, from the libsurf web app, it will look for the web app folder here, web app folder here. It will come out up to here, see web app, but it will look not just for a web app folder, but web app/dist. Yes, and here there's no web app/dist. This web app folder ended up in dist backend only because we import these things here into the backend. And that's actually the whole backend build. So this cycle won't end here and will go higher. We will come out here and still find our original web app. All right, we've built the backend. Let's try to run it in production mode. pnpm start. So now we are serving the built backend. We need to make sure our built front end is still displayed there. Good, good, very good. All right, super. We are now serving our entire application, including both backend and front end, from a single process. Thanks, everyone. We can move forward.